Some motorcycle clubs get folded up by pressure from bigger OMCs. Others patch over to big diamond clubs out of necessity. Big RICO cases where law enforcement shatters the club and the members left gotta make big decisions, so they decide to join that bigger club. Today, we're gonna talk about motorcycle clubs that no longer exist. Let's get into it.
We run the night, we run the night,
Big shout to the ghosts and the ghostettes. Welcome to Demons Row TV, the holy grail of MC culture, where we cover everything motorcycle and motorcycle club involved. I'm Sos the Ghost. I'm your host for the evening. Let's get straight into it. Number 1, the Satan Slaves MC. Why does the Satan Slaves MC no longer exist? Before the Mongols, before the Vagos made headlines, there was a club that ran San Fernando Valley like it was their own turf. The Satan Slaves Motorcycle Club. They started sometime in the mid to late 1960s when California's biker scene was exploding. Every city had a crew, every crew wanted territory, and the valley was up for grabs. That's where the Satan Slaves came in. Ex-Vietnam vets, street mechanics, and straight-up outlaws who built their own bikes and lived by their own rules. They weren't a big national name, but locally, everybody knew who they were. Even the Hells Angels respected them. Cops in LA called them one of the most violent motorcycle clubs in the state. This wasn't rumors. The slaves actually lived that 1% life. They were tight with other outlaw clubs, sometimes allies, sometimes enemies, depending on the year. Every biker in SoCal knew that patch when they saw it, a devil in a top hat, and knew not to test it. By the late 70s, the climate changed.
We have weapons everywhere.
Law enforcement was cracking down on clubs, and at the same time, the Hells Angels were expanding all throughout California. According to George Christie, former Ventura Hells Angels president, most of the slaves patched over to the Hells Angels San Fernando Valley chapter around the late 1970s. Other accounts say the club just fell apart, members doing time, indictments stacking up, and too much heat to keep riding under the same name. Either way, by the early 80s, the Satan Slaves MC was gone. No revival, no new chapters, just history. Number 2, the Dirty Dozen MC. The Dirty Dozen Motorcycle Club once ruled Arizona with an iron fist. Founded in 1964, they were the desert's original one percenters, built on loyalty, brotherhood, all the extras. For decades, they ran the streets of Phoenix and Tucson, battling rivals and keeping Arizona under their own flag. But all that changed when one man and one club came rolling in from California. In the 1990s, Sonny Barger, the godfather of the culture, Hells Angels Oakland chapter president, moved to Arizona. And when Sonny made a move, the entire biker world paid attention. He didn't move there to retire. He was expanding the reach of the red and white. Sources say after moving to Cave Creek, Barger's presence helped pave the way for one of the most famous patchovers in outlaw motorcycle club history. The Dirty Dozen were already powerful in Arizona, but the Hells Angels were a global force. So when Sonny arrived, the writing was on the wall. In the 90s, under his influence, the Dirty Dozen MC officially patched over to the Hells Angels, becoming the Arizona charter. Like how most patchovers go, some members embraced the change, others refused and faded away. But the Dirty Dozen name itself disappeared from the map. The patch that once represented Arizona's most feared club was replaced by the infamous Death Head. What had been homegrown as an Arizona powerhouse was now another chapter in the biggest outlaw motorcycle club on earth. Number 3, the Aliens MC. Nomads. The Aliens Motorcycle Club came up out of New York City in the late 1960s, right out of the East Village, when that part of Manhattan was all grit, gangs, and gas fumes. These weren't weekend riders, they were street soldiers on bikes. The Aliens held their ground in a city that was already chaos, running hard through the 5 boroughs when most people were scared to even walk through them in those days. By 1969, they were one of the strongest outlaw clubs in New York. But that same year, the Hells Angels were looking to plant a permanent flag in the city. When the Angels came to town, they didn't find pushovers. They found the aliens, and that meeting would change the whole East Coast forever. Instead of going to war, the two sides came to an understanding, and the aliens patched over and became the foundation of the Hells Angels in New York, expanding their presence on the East Coast. After that, the alien patch disappeared, but their bloodline ran straight into the Hells Angels ranks. Real quick, if you enjoy MC culture content, smash the like and the subscribe button. And give me a pound wherever you're from. And get your Ghost of Ellie mask, shades, Demons Row snapbacks in all colors, tank tops, crew necks, track races. We got it all, and you can get it on www.demonsrow.com. Let's get back into it. Number 4, the Straight Satan's MC. The Straight Satan's Motorcycle Club came out of California in the late 1950s, back when biker culture was at its infant stages. They were one of the early outlaw crews that helped shape how California bikers looked, rode, and lived. They weren't huge, a small local club. Riders who built their own bikes hit the streets around Venice Beach and Hollywood and made their name off presence, not numbers. Police reports from that time listed them among the first serious outlaw clubs in LA, part of that early wave that came right after the Hollister era. They rode with stripped down Harleys, no front fairings, no showpieces, just loud motors and loyalty to the brothers that they rode with. And if you crossed one of them, you didn't get a second chance. In 1969, their name got dragged into the spotlight when a few members got caught up hanging out at Spawn Ranch with Charlie Manson, of all people. The same area. Everybody knows how the Charlie Manson story ended, and they were all a part of it. All over newspapers, books, interviews, the Straight Satan's president actually testified and helped put away Charlie Manson. But in the early 1970s, the Straight Satans were gone. No patchovers, no comeback. They just disappeared from the street. With all that negative press, who would want to join a club like that? Historians say they likely faded as law enforcement pressure grew and grew, and then the larger clubs like the Mongols and the Vagos started to take over Los Angeles. Today, all that's left are a few photos, a couple of original patches, and stories told by those riders who remember that Venice scene before it got cleaned up. Number 5, the Grim Reapers MC. Not to be confused with many other clubs named the Grim Reapers. The Grim Reapers Motorcycle Club was a 1% club founded in Calgary, Alberta, back in 1967, a tight-knit brotherhood of Harley-riding outlaws. They became the first 1% club in the city, long before the Rebels MC or the King's Crew showed up. What started as a group of hardcore riders soon turned into one of the most dominant forces in Alberta's underground biker scene. By the late 70s and 80s, the Reapers were one of 4 major clubs running Calgary, alongside the Rebels, the Warlords, and the King's Crew. It was said that that peace didn't last. The Reapers and the King's Crew went to war, a violent feud that ripped through Alberta. Beatings, shootouts, and unsolved murders became the norm. These weren't bar fights. This was a battle for dominance in Western Canada's outlaw world. Then came 1997. The game changed forever. After decades of holding their ground, the Grim Reapers were officially patched over by the Hells Angels. The Reapers were absorbed into the Angels in a historic ceremony held in Red Deer, right between Calgary and Edmonton. Those men became the foundation of 2 new Hells Angels chapters, Edmonton and Calgary, the 13th and 14th in all of Canada. And this wasn't happening in isolation. The entire country was in chaos. The Hells Angels were deep in the Quebec biker war against the Rock Machine. Over 160 people would lose their lives in that conflict. So when the Reapers went red and white, it wasn't just a patch change. It was a power move. It helped solidify the Angels' control over Western Canada and marked the end of an era for one of Calgary's original outlaw clubs. Number 6, the Popeyes Motorcycle Club. The Popeyes Moto Club was an outlaw motorcycle club founded in Quebec, Canada, sometime around the mid-1960s. Sources say roughly around 1965, but when it comes to the outlaw world, you never know. What started as a tight-knit French-Canadian club of Harley riders quickly grew into one of the most feared names in the province. Allegedly, the Popeyes ran with the Dubai brothers, a powerful Montreal crime family, acting as their muscle during the height of Quebec's underworld wars. By the mid-1970s, the Popeyes were deep in conflict. They were reportedly involved in what most call the First Montreal Biker War, battling rival clubs like the Devil's Disciples, no relation to the OG Club from California, and the Satan's Choice MC. These wars were bloody, involving beatings, bombings, and loss of life that shaped Quebec's outlaw landscape. Law enforcement sources claim the Popeyes were the most dominant force in the region by the late 70s, feared by not just their rivals, but by anyone who crossed them. Then came 1977, the year everything changed. The Popeyes Moto Club was officially patched over by the Hells Angels. It's said that they were the first Hells Angels chapter in Canada. No one knows officially. Not every member was brought in. Only those the Angels deemed loyal and strong enough to represent the red and white. It was said that the patchover took place in Montreal, symbolizing the beginning of the Angels' takeover of Canada's outlaw scene. After that day, the Popeyes name disappeared, but their spirit didn't. Their members became the foundation of the Hells Angels in Canada, playing a major role in the biker wars that followed, especially the Quebec biker war between the Angels and the Rock Machine that started in the 1990s. So while the Popeyes no longer exist under that name, their legacy lives on through the men who traded in their patch for that death head to help the Hells Angels cement their power across Canada. Imagine being a member of the Rock Machine at that time, where the Hells Angels went patch for patch with all these clubs. Like, imagine being at war with a club, you're beefing with them, and then all of a sudden one day you hear every other club met up with them and like almost all of them patched over. That must have been like an earth-shattering kind of day. And on top of that, the police helped clean up the rest of the Rock Machine that was left. So they were so outnumbered, it was ridiculous. That was one of the craziest, situations in history, and that happens a lot on the streets. Sometimes people organize better than others, and crews get wiped out like that. So let me know what you thought about this in the comments. Hit that subscribe button if you're into MC culture content, and thank you for tuning in to Demons Row TV, the holy grail of MC culture. Like, subscribe, and comment. We ghosting, baby.